With the motor mounted back in the car and the turbos bolted up, we are ready to make an exhaust system. Matt made up a couple of new hanger mounts when he originally fabricated the gearbox crossmember and is now joining these to a pair of 3-inch stainless steel pipes which will join to the original 3-inch exhaust that was previously fitted to the car.
Exhaust is all finished now. We've got twin 3-inch stainless steel. It's all manual bent. We've slip jointed it up into the dump pipes. That's mainly due to the fact that it's very difficult to get these dump pipes in there, so putting a flange on them, just the little ears off the flange are enough to make it impossible to get in. So we've just done a slip joint setup on that, which works great, seals fine, and stainless steel, you don't normally have a problem getting them apart anyway. It's split down here with a flange on this white piece because you would never get those two off. If they're this angle, you'd never get the slip joints off, so you have to be able to remove them. So it's got a flange there and an expansion joint on the other side because they're going to move at different rates. So then it's obviously coming into a single. We're just running the exhaust that was on it before, single 3-inch. May or may not cause a restriction issue. I'm thinking not at this. It's a standard engine at this stage, so it's probably not going to make any difference. The only other thing we've got to do is the tail shaft's made. We've got basically just an upgraded tail shaft. We've taken the back of the Skyline shaft has got actually a vulcanised one shaft inside the other with rubber, which can eventually fail under high torque loads or abuse. So the tail shaft guy recommends to remove that, so it's now solid. So the only other thing we've got to do, you'll probably see this, it says not tight, because that's how Matthew rolls, likes to leave himself notes. That's because we've got to pull the diff out and put some shims in it, because it's a pretty old and it's got a bit loose. So the LSD pack, you can buy some shims from Nissan and just insert some new shims in it, and it actually just tightens it up, accounts for the wear, normally works pretty well. So we've still got to do that. But otherwise, everything under here is pretty much done. Wiring is probably the last thing we've got to do, and Matt's also currently working on the fuel system. We're just waiting on a big pile of speed flow fittings for it to achieve that. We'll have a look in the boot at the surge tank he's made in a second. Matt actually made this surge tank a long time ago to fit in this car when it had the old engine in it, but never got around to fitting it because he wasn't really experiencing any fuel surge or anything at the time. That engine's obviously not going to be as hungry as this one is, so we've fitted it all up now. It's a pretty neat setup. It's pretty good on design stuff, as you probably would have figured out. So there's the tank. We're using Deechworks 350 IL pumps, which are sort of an 044 equivalent, but a little bit better. There's two of those, so there's two outlets here. They're going to be under the car to obviously keep them quiet, because that two pumps tends to be pretty loud. So they're under the car. The in-tank pump is something, I don't know what it is, but it's not the old Skyline one, so it's good enough to fill up the tank. So we basically just have to go out into the top here. That goes back to the tank. Then we obviously got a regulator. The fuel pressure reg is here somewhere. It's going to be a deadhead system, so the regulator is going to be in the back here, and it'll just be set to 58 psi, which is what the LS1 ECU is designed to have. So there's no boost compensation or anything, but that's not a problem. We've got that much fuel flow. Got a 5/8 line going at the front, 2 pumps. Any loss of actual fuel pressure from boost pressure is going to be more than accounted for by the amount of fuel flow we've got. So that'll just be part of the tune. So I'm not sure where we're going to put the reg yet. I think it's probably going to have to be underneath with where the pumps are. And the other thing we've got is a set of DW 950cc injectors. So that's off-the-shelf LS1. This is sort of equivalent to a Camaro 01 to 04, I think, this engine. But they've just sort of adapted it to fit into our Australian Commodore with a different sump and that sort of thing. So all the parts are equivalent. So the ECU and the injectors and that sort of thing are the same. So it's easy to get the off-the-shelf injectors for it. So once we do all this, plumb it all up, connect it to the engine, we're good to go on the fuel side of things.
Matt is mounting both of the Dishworks fuel pumps under the car onto a custom mounting plate. These will both feed the Go Fast Bits fuel pressure regulator and then into a single -10 hard line which runs under the car along the chassis rail and up to the engine bay to the fuel filter. The fuel line then reduces in size to -6 and continues up to the fuel rail. $6mm nutserts come in handy so the fuel pump setup can be bolted to the floor. The hardline running to the front of the car seals via an alloy ferrule and an O-ring. A small amount of lubrication helps when assembling the fitting to ensure the O-ring doesn't catch on the pipe.
Engine bay is looking super neat. Matt's put heaps of time into it. So yeah, it looks great. Got all the bits there ready to go. The only mechanical sort of stuff we've got to do left is just like plumbing. So turbo plumbing, which again, we're waiting for a massive box of fittings for that. Other than that, it's pretty good to go. Just a few little bits and pieces. That everything else is done. The wiring is sort of my problem. Here's like a bunch of old Skyline wiring. These things are, being an early 90s Japanese car, they've got so much crap in them that is either does not work anymore, it isn't even utilised anymore, like four-wheel steering and that sort of junk. So we've got to go through this and figure out what we need. There's probably next to nothing in this box that's actually still used, so we'll sort of have to make a decision about what to do with that once I figure out what they're all for. But yeah, a lot of it is not actually even utilised anymore. So basically just got headlight wiring out this side. We'll put a new fuse box in with the LS ECU, so I've just used a Haltech fuse box, which I can buy as a separate unit. They're great, they've got enough fuses and relays in them to cover the running of an engine and a couple of thermofans and that sort of thing, which is what you want. So again, I've just got to figure out where we route the ECU wiring, because on these, the RB engine actually goes out into the inner guard through a hole in the corner there, then turns the corner and goes back into the car, which is a bit of a pain in the butt at times. You can actually see the hole down in there. So it's going out into the guard and then turning the corner back into the car. So we may have to do that, but there's plenty of wiring length on the LS ECU. They sort of give you like this much from the engine to the ECU, but its ECU is actually mounted in the engine bay, so it just has this big loop in the engine bay, and then the ECU sits next to the exhaust manifold with a big heat shield on it, which is a pretty crazy idea, but whatever. So we'll put it inside the car, of course. So if we can get the appropriate length to be able to mount the ECU where we want it in the car, we'll just run it through there. If not, we might have to cut a hole in the firewall or something like that, but we prefer not to do that because it's all been painted already. So that's where I'm at. I'll help Matt with the plumbing on the weekend, and we'll be getting pretty close to starting it up, which is pretty exciting. Big job.
Next episode, Al finishes off the wiring, the turbos are supplied with oil and water, and we're finally ready to start the car.
Haha, very funny.
Waxing the dolphin.